Hello again, guys. This is our last match before the break on day one of the New Eden Open 2, and we are going to watch Agmar Money Team, that is the Pandemic Legion team for this tournament, against Cynosural Field Theory, the Nocturnal Romance Tinker Hell team for this tournament, and it's looking like a pretty awesome one.
Remember how we were talking before about blasters and how awesome it is when we have both teams with blasters? Yes, this is one of those setups. Quickly, I'm just going to mention the bans because we didn't get it before. It was Dominic's and Ishtar banned by the PL guys, and then the blue team, Tinker Hell's team, banned the Armageddon and Sentinel. Again, pretty actually logical bans. You don't want the Sentinel for the tracking disruptors. Agmar Money Team has brought 2 Astartes, Neros, Blackbird, Celestis, and 3 Enyos. And then Cynosural Field Theory has brought a Vindicator, Scimitar, Vigilant, 2 Thorax, and 3 Daredevils. And that Scimitar means the Vindicator is a shield, super damage Vindicator, which are hilarious. They do so much damage. I can't wait to see this.
And you see some experienced team tactics here. Agmar pulling away from the Cynosural Field Theory team, probably trying to get their E-War set up before they go in for kills, maybe waste some cap. Yep.
Yeah.
But in a moment, you'll see plenty of damage, I'm sure.
So that Vindicator is tackled. He does have a Scrambler on him, so they're going to try to keep that Vindicator, have the Enyos keep the Vindicator away from their team. We're not seeing a web on the Enyo yet, but that Vindicator is probably going to, there he goes. Vindicator with a 90% web is going to be able to take down that Enyo very likely. And he needs to do that so that he can then get on top of the Astartes and the core team for Agmar Money Team. Hafanat's Blackbird is the main primary, looks like, that Cynosural Field Theory is shooting at, and it's moving through shields, but it's going to be armor tanks, so we'll have to see how much damage it takes now that it's getting reps.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things about this blaster team that has not been the case in the ones we've seen so far is this Daredevil wing, which actually is falling apart now. They lost one, about to lose a second potentially, but
no reps on it.
That little wing is nasty. Those things do 300, 350 DPS each. They're very fast, and they have those 90% webs. In this case, they're probably mostly jammed. Wow, Thorax just evaporated. That could be a boundary violation.
It could
Yep, boundary violation for him.
Oh, that hurts, man. In this kind of match, when you have blasters versus blasters, both teams are going to be losing a bunch of people, and so it's really key to avoid any individual small losses. Thorax is not normally a core part of like a team that would consider a linchpin, but in a match like this, it's going to be so close potentially, although it doesn't really look like it as we see it developing here. You really need every single ship alive.
And yeah, they lost that first Daredevil was a boundary violation as well.
Oh, that hurts so much.
The PL team pulled back early till pretty close to that boundary, and when they went charging out, they just missed. The whole fight's happening now at around 100K, 115K range from the beacon, and that's a big risk when you're out there.
Yeah, and what's a huge risk is that they managed to actually it's not as big of a risk because he's not. Oh yeah, he is there. They managed to trust Kata L there in the Astarte not to fly out of the arena. So that's a pretty huge risk on their part. But this is actually a tactic that back before I came to CCP, when I was competing in tournaments, we actually used to practice. So we'd have, especially the Logi pilot, practice getting as close to the arena as possible, close to the edge of the arena, to try to draw the other guys out. Called the Edge of Glory tactic. You bring them right to the edge, and then the key part is not going out yourself, and you can hopefully draw some people that are coming after you out. And it looks like it worked perfectly in this. That's the kind of thing that some of the most prepared teams might have practiced.
And during that, Agmar Money Team was able to kill the Cynosural Field Theory Scimitar in the old-fashioned way by just shooting it with guns, and it looks like the Vigilant will be following shortly after. This is just one of those examples we see in every tournament where you can talk about the way the setups match up, but the piloting is just so important. Agmar Money Team, like, playing this incredibly smartly, forcing those boundary violations and then picking the team apart positionally, stranding that Vindicator away from everything, just played really, really well. One
of the things that we say in just about every tournament we commentate in, but that we haven't said yet in this one, it's a pretty common thing that when you see a close-range team versus a close-range team, we call them rush teams, teams that need to get up close to the other team. In a rush versus rush matchup, the team that moves in is usually the one that loses. You actually usually want to be the one that plays a bit more defensively and is moving back. The team that's moving in usually spreads themselves out. They'll arrive kind of one by one, and that's a tactic that I know you used a lot as a solo PvPer in your years of play. They also risk doing things like going out of the arena, but the big thing is that they're moving at never quite exactly the same speed, and they're going to arrive one by one, and it's kind of like catching a baseball. You kind of cradle it a bit, and you just let the other team come to you and destroy them one by one.
Yep, exactly. It worked really well here, and yeah, like you said, we see that in most tournaments in one way or another. But now there's hardly anything left of the Cynosural Field Theory team. The last Daredevil is about to go down, and the Vindicator should follow shortly after. All these things, not a whole lot of tank, especially with the Scimitar off the field, and plenty of damage from that Agmar side.
If you had told me, after I'd seen these setups, but before the match started, that one of these teams would not lose a single ship, I would have been very surprised. I would not have believed you.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, look at all this damage. You would really expect it to be a slugfest, but it was just really, really well played by the Agmar Money team.
Incredibly well played. And that ends it for that one. And we're going to have a break in a minute, but we'll talk to you guys just for another minute. So hang in there for a sec.